So you failed, maybe you flopped your end of year exams, maybe your report card earned you a slipper thrown at your head. But what no one realises is that you still have one wild card left to play, the summer. The summer is the best time to make your academic comeback if you're ever going to do it. Whilst everyone else is fucking around, scrolling or binging Netflix, if you literally just put in a couple of hours of work in the morning every single day, if you add that up over every single day of the summer, you can come back a completely transformed student. You'll be so far ahead of everyone else in your class when you come back. So here is your 5-step plan to transform your grades over the summer and have your very own academic comeback. And if you're really serious about this and you want personalised one-to-one support on transforming your grades, then I've put together a free straight A's in 14 days summer challenge, so go check that out, first link in the description. Step 1, mindset. This is something that took me quite a while to understand. You are not your grade. You are not a grade C student or a grade B student. You are just a student who got that grade this one time. But that doesn't mean that's who you are. There was probably some reason that you got this grade that you're not happy with on this one test. But that's it. It's just a one-time thing. And if there was some reason that you got this, then we can correct that reason. You can get better. Don't identify with this grade. Don't make it part of your identity, because that will give you like a glass ceiling, which will stop you from actually achieving what you could, because you're just like, nah, I'm just a grade B student. That's just where I am. Trust me, bro, you can improve so much more than you could believe. I've seen people who were predicted a grade 4 in GCSE a month before the actual exam who go on to achieve a grade 9. Personally, I've gone from B's to A stars in a period of just a couple of months. It's actually pretty easy to get better grades than 99% of students. If you really think about that average student, just some random average guy in your school, what do they spend their time doing? Most of them spend hours scrolling, watching Netflix, they're sleep deprived, they eat shit food. And even when they sit down and study, they're checking their phone every 5 minutes, sending snap streaks and shit. If you literally just master the basics and you work smart, which I'm going to show you how to do in the rest of this video, you can transform so much more than you think in such a short amount of time. Getting good grades, it's going to sound a bit weird, but it's not even necessarily about being smart. It's about playing the game. Just close your eyes with me and visualize right now. Imagine you got your dream grades. Imagine you went to your parents and you showed them the grade sheet and they're shocked by how much you've transformed. Like your mom's crying in the corner, your dad's so proud of you. Imagine you start getting those grades every time and everyone in your class suddenly starts to get a bit of respect for you. They start asking you how you did it. And then finally you get that acceptance letter from your dream university or college. You feel confident and excited about your future. You can do all of this if you watch the rest of this video and you actually put in the work. Step 2, identify a clear goal. We have to make it very clear how you're going to measure your success, because if you don't have a clear goal to aim for, how do you know if all your studying works? So whatever grade you think you could get, visualize that in your head and then add 1, maybe even add 2. If you think you can get a B, that's what you're aiming for. Bro, fucking aim for that A or A star. Most people underestimate just how much they can change if they start studying in the right way. Bro, the summer, you've got like basically 2 months where you can just focus on this. You can make a huge improvement very quickly. And the important thing is that you have to make this goal big and ambitious, exciting, almost seemingly impossible, where it's just outside of that zone of possibility, because that will give you that spark of motivation that you need to get through the difficult times. If I'm laying in bed and I've set an alarm to wake up and study, and the alarm goes off, but it's so nice and warm in my bed, I just want to lay down and sleep. If I've set the goal of going from a grade C to a grade B, I don't really care. It doesn't spark any excitement in me. I might as well just stay in my bed. But if I've set the grade of trying to go from a C to an A star, and then I start visualizing all that stuff that we visualized earlier together, like your parents are proud, everyone respects you, and I get that spark of motivation, and that's when I'm fucking cartwheeling out of the bed, I'm jumping, backflipping out of the bed, I don't care, I'm sitting down, I'm studying, because I've got that reason why. So when you've got that goal, write it down on a piece of paper in big letters. This is what I actually did for my A-levels. On a piece of paper I wrote down, I will get 5 A stars. I got that piece of paper and I stuck it on my wall. And the reason this is so powerful, if you stick it on the wall right in front of your desk where you do all your studying, if I'm sitting down here and I feel the temptation to grab my phone and scroll, or I feel the temptation to go and click on some random article instead of doing my work, and I look up and I see this sign on my wall staring back at me, then I'm so much less likely likely to actually go and distract myself, because then all of a sudden I remember my goal, I remember all the stuff we were visualizing, all that excitement and motivation. And then something else that's really powerful about sticking it on your wall in your room is, yeah, it might feel a bit weird, a little bit cringe to have that, because you know your parents or your siblings might come in, they'll see it, it's a bit weird, but in a weird way that actually helps. Because if I stuck down, I'm going to get 5 A stars on my wall. If my mom walks in to like tell me something or give me something and she sees that on the wall, now that I know she's seen that, and next time I don't want to be seen scrolling my phone, because if my mom sees me scrolling my phone after she's seen that goal, then I'll almost feel like a bit of a hypocrite, right? She probably won't say anything, but it just gives you that extra layer of social accountability. Step 3, identify where you went wrong. It's that classic quote, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you want to improve your grade from what you got last time, you need to do something differently. You need to identify exactly what your weaknesses are and target them. What are we going to do differently this time to make sure you improve? Well, the answer will be different for everyone. Are there any specific subjects where you're not so good? Maybe in maths you're pretty good, but in like Spanish you're really bad. Which topics within each subject do you struggle with the most? Is it just understanding and learning? Is that your problem? Or is it, do you actually know the content but it's exam technique? You don't know how to answer the questions? Or something that I used to struggle with a lot is time. Bro, I knew most of the stuff. If I had unlimited time I could get good grades, but under the exam pressure, when I have like so little time, I'd always panic and I'd run out of time and I wouldn't get to finish all the questions and I'd end up with a really shit grade. Is it procrastination, just sitting down and working? Whatever it is, identify exactly what it is. And that is what we have to target. It might feel kind of weird to like poke around in your own shit trying to find your own weaknesses, but the fact that you have weaknesses is one of the best things you could have. Because if you can identify them, then now I know all I have to do is focus on this one weakness, improve that, and then I can go get my dream grades. Imagine you have like a chain with iron links, they're all linked together. If one link is made out of paper and the rest are made of iron, it doesn't matter how strong the other links are, because if I pull the chain, the paper will just rip. The chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So we need to target that paper link, that weak link, and make it stronger. We need to find exactly what's holding you back and target that specifically. It's like our professional sports teams will sit down and analyze exactly why they conceded the goal, why they lost the game, and make a plan to try and combat that. And then once you found your weakness, think, how am I going to make sure this doesn't hold me back again this time? If you want personalized advice for your specific weakness, one-on-one, then go click that first link in the description. Step 4, how to structure your day. The thing is, we still want to enjoy our summer. We've been grinding all year at school and now we actually get some time off. Bro, you don't want to be sat inside when it's nice and sunny, everyone's enjoying themselves, and you're sat there slaving away studying. Now there's actually some good weather, we still want to enjoy it. So what I suggest is literally, instead of waking up at like 11, 12, 1 p.m. like most people do in the summer, just wake up at like 8 a.m, 7 a.m, like a normal time. So what we're going to do is, as soon as possible, when you wake up, just sit down and start studying. And we're going to study for a 90-minute block. Set a timer, because that gives you a deadline for you to focus. Then we're going to have a little break, and then we're going to sit down for another 90-minute block of studying. And after that, we're done, the 2 90-minute blocks. I'll get on to what we do during the study blocks later, but what we do during this break is actually really important. This is some of the cringiest shit I see when people say like, oh, I'm on a 5-minute study break, and then they get their phone out and scroll on Instagram. You've just been giving your brain so many inputs, so much information to process with trying to learn this new material, and now you're just going to give it even more information in your supposed break. You're not letting your mind rest. So in this break, what we're going to do is do something that doesn't actually require much mental effort, something that you can almost like zone out whilst you're doing. So washing the dishes, going for a walk, cleaning the house, whatever it is. Let your mind actually recover, and then we sit down for the second study block. Now maybe for some of you, you might think that this isn't really a lot of studying, it's only like 3 hours. And that's true, you see a lot of people studying, they say, oh, like 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day. These YouTube students study for like 12 hours a day. But the difference is, we're gonna do deep work. So something I learned from the book that's titled Deep Work is that the most elite minds in our generation can study at 100% intensity for only up to 4 hours every single day. And me and you, if we're gonna be real, bro, I love you, bro, but we're not the elite minds of our generation. So for us, it's probably a bit less. It might be like 2 or 3 hours. But now this isn't an excuse to be lazy. It's not just 4 hours, 3 hours of studying. It's 3 hours at 100% intensity. We want 100% of our focus to be on the task. So this means get your phone, power it off, go put it in a different room, go throw it out of the window for all I care. We're not looking at that shit. Sit down and your eyes literally should barely leave the screen or the textbook for the entire 90-minute block. We're so focused. That's the focus you gotta have. The first 10 to 15 minutes will feel really hard. Your brain will be telling you, maybe I need to go message that person. I need to go look this thing up. Ignore that and just push through. The first 10 minutes, they'll be difficult, but after you push through that, that's when you enter something called flow state. And that's when you start, like, you get immersed in the task, you're really focused in it, you forget about everything else. That's when you're gonna do your best work. And the good thing is, if we're only doing these 2 study blocks, depending on when you wake up, you will be done with your studying, usually before lunch. If you wake up at 7 a.m, at 7:30 you sit down, you do your study block, you have your break, you do your second study block of 90 minutes. You'll be done before 11 a.m. And then you have the rest of the entire day to just enjoy the summer. Completely guilt-free and proud and satisfied that you've done some really good work already. And then step 5, how to study. So what do we actually do in these 2 90-minute study blocks? The first 90-minute study block, this is where we're going to study the content, the understanding the different processes and facts. Figure out which content is your weak point, right? Which topics do you struggle with more than others? But now when we found these topics, you're not going to sit down and start highlighting the textbook. We're not going to make mind maps or make notes or whatever. No, we're going to use active recall. Now you may or may not know what active recall is. You may have heard of like flashcards and shit like that. I'm a real bro, I never really used flashcards. The only method of active recall I used is kind of old-fashioned, but it works. That's all I know. What we're gonna do is we get the textbook that you're learning from. You read like a section, maybe you read like a page. After you've read the page, you cover the page up, you close the textbook, and you get out a piece of paper and you summarize in bullet point form all the key points that you learned from that page, completely from memory. Then after you've done that, open the textbook back up, read the page through and compare your notes. And then you close the book again, and in a different color pen, now we start adding all the stuff that you missed the first time. This is active recall. And the reason this is so good is it forces you to pull the information out from like the back of your brain. It's not right there in front of you. You have to actually use effort to really think and recall the information. And this reinforces the links in your brain and helps you remember the information so much better. So many studies have shown this. Now, this will be difficult. This is a lot harder than just sitting down and highlighting the textbook. All these passive methods, highlighting the textbook, making notes, whatever, it still feels like you're being productive, but they're not as difficult. But then you gotta ask yourself, are we doing this to feel productive, or are we doing this to actually make a difference in our grade? So do the thing that's more difficult. Even if it takes more effort, just push through and you will see results. And then in the second study block, this is when we do exam questions, past paper exam questions to test our knowledge. So let's say in the first study block, I opened my page to a page about mitosis in biology, and I learned that and I did active recall, all of that. Then in my second study block, I'm gonna get exam questions specifically on mitosis. You can find them probably on the internet somewhere. And I'm just gonna spam these as much as I can, answering them, checking where I went wrong, maybe adding it to my notes, and then just do as many of them as I can. The reason this is so good is because of specificity. It's so specific to what's in the exam. What's gonna be in the actual exam paper, obviously it's exam questions. So if you get really good at doing the exam questions, you get really good at exams. It's pretty logical, and then you get really good grades. And this is such a cheat code that most people don't abuse enough. I used to always do the whole shit with flashcards and highlighting, and I never even touched an exam question when that is literally what you're doing in the exam. So you might as well just make that like a big part of your revision. And again, this is really good because it also uses that active recall, but now it's in a more specific scenario. And something else that's actually really underrated that you might want to try is just timed exam papers. Do the full exam paper as you would in the hall. If there's a maths exam which is 2 hours long, sit down, put a 2-hour timer on and just do it. Try and complete it in the time. No one ever does this. I never used to do this, but if you've covered all the content, this is so good. Because again, this is even more specific. This is the most specific you could possibly get. If you get really good at doing exams, then you'll get really good at doing the exams. It's obvious. Something that's really good about this is it gives you a confidence boost if you actually start getting good grades. This is what I did before my actual A-level exams. For like 2-3 days before, I just wake up and do a timed exam paper. And then when I walk into the hall, then everyone else is anxious and nervous, but I just feel confident, I feel calm, because I almost know that I'm gonna get a good result because I've already done this shit like for the last 3 days and I got the grade I wanted. And it's also really helpful because it gives you a clear metric to track your progress. Usually you'd only be able to know if your studying has actually worked like a few weeks or months down the line, once you actually get your exam results back. That might take ages. But now, something that could work is like, let's say you do a week of revision. Week 1, you do the active recall and exam questions. And then at the end of the week, do a timed pass paper. Let's say maybe you get 50%. And then on week 2, you get 60%. Now you can see you've made that improvement. So obviously your studying method is working. And then you can figure out, again, you can look at the paper, you can say which topics did I struggle with the most and target those. So that is your plan for your very own academic comeback. Hopefully this helps. And again, if you're really serious about this and you actually want to make some change, you want my free one-on-one personalized advice to you, go check out the first link in the description. And peace out.